Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. Ja Morant, insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. Grizzlies win 2 in a row edition. My name is Keith Parish. Thanks for joining me. The Grizzlies took on the Los Angeles Lakers on Tuesday night, empowered by a franchise record-setting 28-point third quarter from Ja Morant. They dispatched the Los Angeles Lakers. They got some semblance of revenge for the Shannon Sharpe game, and the Grizzlies maintained their sparkling home record. They're 26-5 at home, on pace, as I keep saying, to set the franchise record for home wins in a season. And, of course, they maintained their seeding in the Western Conference, stay a game and a half ahead of the Kings. But this game, all about Ja Morant breaking his teammate Jaren Jackson Jr.'s franchise record for most points in a quarter. Jaren had 26 points in a third quarter against the Bucks several years ago, a game where Ja Morant did not play. The Bucks ended up winning the game, but if you remember, Jaren Jackson Jr. was on fire in that third quarter, banging in a bunch of three-pointers. Ja Morant made 0 three-pointers in this 28-point quarter. He made 0 three-pointers for the game. As a team, in the entire game, the Grizzlies only made 6 three-pointers. But they still get the victory because of this huge offensive onslaught from Ja, also because of Lakers turnovers. More on that in a second. But Ja Morant, 28 points in a quarter. His previous high for a quarter was 21. He did it by scoring 20 points in the paint in just the third quarter. The Grizzlies had 86 points in the paint, which Grizzlies PR tells us is the second most in franchise history. Of course, repeating myself, the Grizzlies are on pace for the most points in the paint ever recorded in an NBA season since they started keeping track of that play-by-play data. Ja's 28 points in the quarter. That's a NBA season high, 4 points in a quarter. Yeah, Damian Lillard scored 71 and Donovan Mitchell scored 71, but those guys didn't score 28 points in a quarter. Ja Morant with a season high for the entire league in points in a quarter. Ja Morant also got 3 assists in the third quarter that led to 8 more points, so he accounted for 36 points in that third quarter. He just kept taking it to the basket. And the Lakers didn't double team, didn't really do anything. He just kept scoring over and over and over. And there's some fun elements to this beyond just the highlights of Ja scoring over and over and over. The first half, Ja was bad. And this is on the heels of Ja Morant really struggling in that Jazz game before the break, struggling on the last nationally televised TNT game, one of the worst games he's ever played probably against the Sixers. And then he comes out in the first half of this one in a game that's nationally televised on TNT, and you're like, man, Ja is really struggling in these big games, but he switches shoes at halftime. There's nothing to that, I guess. After the game, he was asked about it, and he said he's just breaking his shoes in. But he started the game in these Ja 1 Midnights, which have like sparkly-looking crystal things on the swoosh, so they match the Grizzlies' city jerseys. But he's 3 for 14 from the field in the first half. The Grizzlies overall, as a team, are 33% from the field in the first half. Just a rough, ugly, ragged first half between the Lakers and Grizzlies. He comes out in a different pair of Ja 1s for the third quarter and blows up and scores all those points. The Grizzlies get up double digits. Some glass half empty parts of this. Yeah, the Grizzlies got up at double digits. Yes, Ja Morant had this huge third quarter. Of course, the 6 made three-pointers is a negative thing. In the fourth quarter, the Grizzlies got up by 14 and then let the Lakers cut it to 4, which gave us all the PTSD of the last time the Grizzlies played the Lakers. Thankfully, this time, they pulled it out as the Lakers, who, by the way, a huge story, playing without LeBron James, who is sidelined for the immediate future and maybe longer with a foot injury that he suffered in that 27-point rally the Lakers had on Sunday. There was no LeBron James. So beyond the Ja Morant awesome offensive game, the rest of it was kind of not that awesome. If you want to give the Grizzlies a lot of credit, you give them credit for forcing all those turnovers. Again, 26 turnovers for the Lakers. That is the most turnovers the Grizzlies have forced in a game this season. That's the most turnovers the Lakers have had. The Grizzlies scored 41 points off of those 26 turnovers. That's a franchise record for the most points off of turnovers. That's how you win a basketball game, when you shoot 19% from 3. Coming into this game, I said last episode, thankfully, the Lakers aren't that much of a three-point shooting team. Well, we actually lost the three-point battle pretty hard. The Lakers made 13 three-pointers. Austin Reeves hit 4. Lonnie Walker kept drilling three-pointers. But because of that turnover disparity, the Grizzlies take care of the basketball. The Grizzlies themselves only have 6 turnovers for the game. So an incredible job of keeping track of the basketball. In their last 5 games, the Grizzlies as a team have only turned the ball over 41 times. That's the fewest turnovers over any 5-game span of the season. For the Grizzlies, that's the fewest turnovers they've had over any 5-game span since 2014. Of course, those 2014 Grizzlies were very, very good as well and played at a much slower pace. So the Grizzlies are taking care of the basketball. They are defending. So when they stink in the half court, like they did once again in this game, when they don't make three-pointers, like they did once again this game, they were good enough to pull out the victory. By the way, in that third quarter, Ja's 28-point third quarter, the Grizzlies as a team scored 47 points, which is an astounding number for points in a quarter. That's tied for the second most points in a quarter in franchise history, behind the mind-boggling 55-point quarter the Grizzlies had against the Pelicans at the end of the year last year, which I still can't believe happened. But the Grizzlies scored 47 points in that third quarter. Again, that's glass half full, glass half empty. They only managed 74 points in the other 3 quarters combined. They had a 20-point second quarter. They made 27% of their field goals in the second quarter. It was a scrappy game. Scrappy performance, kind of rough overall. Maybe the Lakers drag you into those. The Lakers are not a particularly good defensive team. They're a good rebounding team, and the Grizzlies had trouble once again keeping them off the offensive glass. The Grizzlies did a good job themselves on the offensive glass, which they do. You know, they're, I believe, second in the NBA in offensive rebounding this year. But the Lakers matched them with offensive rebounding and actually outscored them on second chance points. But again, Ja Morant did enough to get it done. He finished, by the way, with a triple-double. Haven't even said that yet. A 39-point triple-double. That is the most points in a triple-double in Ja's career and, of course, in Grizzlies franchise history. It was a bit of stat-chasing, stat-padding as he was in. He did not get subbed out in the end of the game. The Grizzlies cleared the bench last couple minutes, except for Ja Morant, who was in there trying to get his 10th rebound. Then once he gets the 10th rebound, he immediately calls timeout with like 20 seconds left, which is a kind of bad look. Taylor Jenkins tried to apologize. According to our broadcast, I said Taylor Jenkins, called out to Darvin Ham to apologize for calling a timeout, saying, Ja wasn't supposed to call a timeout. But also, you could have not left Ja in there, but who cares? Unwritten rules don't matter. Triple-doubles last forever. This was Ja's 10th career triple-double. And 39 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Great game from Ja Morant. So beyond the awesome performance from Ja Morant, beyond the huge third quarter, second half explosion, probably next up in the billing for the Grizzlies is Xavier Tillman, who had a really big game, posted his first double-double of the season. He tied his career high with 18 points. That's a season high. He set career highs for most field goals attempted and field goals made. He was 9 for 17 from the field. He took the second most field goal attempts of all Grizzlies players. He also played a very good defense again. 2 steals, 1 block, contributing to the Grizzlies as a team, posting massive steal and block numbers, picked up 2 assists. Tillman as the starter has been really, really strong the last couple of games as the Grizzlies won over the Lakers and the Nuggets. He also did a good job against Joel Embiid, where he played 30-something minutes in that game coming off the bench. What's funny a little bit is he played 32 and a half minutes, which is more minutes than Steven Adams usually plays. Because of that, like Brandon Clark only played 14 minutes. Could the Grizzlies have had the same success if Brandon Clark was playing more? We'll never know. But Xavier Tillman, monster game, once again performing as the fill-in center. Great stuff from Xavier Tillman. 7 of his 11 rebounds are on the offensive glass. Maybe the theme of the episode, glass half full, glass half empty, glass half full. Hey, really good job offensive rebounding. Glass half empty. He's not a very good defensive rebounder. He's a pretty good offensive rebounder, and that, of course, is the Grizzlies' overall kind of team profile. Beyond Xavier Tillman, Jaren Jackson Jr., our second all-star, he played like an all-star in this game. He also racked up a bunch of steals and blocks. 4 blocks, 1 steal, scored 16 points, had a monster poster putback dunk over Anthony Davis. So Jaren Jackson Jr., he flirted with foul trouble, but strong performance as he also played kind of a lot of minutes for him, over 31 minutes. 4 of the Grizzlies starters played over 30 minutes, which is not that typical. Desmond Bane scored 16 points, had a season high tying 4 steals. He only attempted 2 3-pointers, made 0 3-pointers. That is the fewest 3-pointers Bane has attempted in a game this year. His previous low was 4. Desmond Bane only attempting 2 3-pointers in a game is criminal. Certainly something that needs to be addressed. I haven't totally studied the film to figure out why. Were they just doing a good job of running him off the line? I do feel like Desmond Bane's little in-between game, his runners, these floaters, these things he banks in that don't look particularly smooth to me, but they've been going in. I feel like he's gotten very, very adept at them, and he's finding his rhythm in the past few games. It feels like a lot of these shots are going in. So he is attacking in other ways. He was 7 for 13 from the field, so that's 7 of 11 on 2-point attempts. He's still getting assists, 3 assists, so maybe it's just an aberration that he only ended up with 2 3-point attempts. Dillon Brooks, who made some social media waves with his game day outfit. His game day outfit consisted of jorts and a leather jacket, and that's all. The Grizzlies are now 2-0 when Dillon Brooks doesn't wear a shirt before the game. That stat courtesy of Ja Morant, who pointed that out in the post-game walk-off interview. Dillon did not continue his sweet shooting from the previous game. He was back to some atrocious field goal percentages, 2 for 11 from the field. He did make 2 3-pointers. He made 1/3 of the Grizzlies' 3-pointers. So that's 2 straight games where Dillon has made at least 2 3-pointers. He also had some foul trouble, picked up 2 steals and 2 assists, though. Not the best performance from Dillon Brooks because of those fouls. Maybe because of the shooting, but more of the fouls. Dillon, the only starter to not log at least 30 minutes. Off the bench, there was some good stuff. Like Tyus Jones came in immediately in the first quarter, picked up where he left off last game, and scored a couple of baskets. You saw that immediate spark he brought. Luke Kennard finished the first quarter with a bang, made a buzzer beater off a very nice play off of a jump ball where Brandon Clark taps the ball forward. Luke Kennard retrieves it, runs down, pulls up, hits the 3 at the buzzer. It was a good play by the Grizzlies. Also, in my opinion, a terrible play by the Lakers. I still don't know why NBA teams don't understand, one, that the Grizzlies tap the ball towards their basket. Also, if there's just a few seconds left in a quarter, basically the one thing I feel like you have to be thinking as the Lakers is, I sure hope they don't bat it towards our basket. There's only 4 seconds left. They bat it towards our basket, they might get a bucket If they bat it, just to possess it back towards our basket, they probably won't score. So the only thing I need to do is be prepared for them maybe, hitting it towards our basket. Maybe they're just thinking, hey, there's no way they're actually going to try to, they wouldn't do that, would they? Well, they did it, and the Grizzlies got a big bucket. And again, in the first half where not much was going right offensively for the Grizzlies. The bench in the second quarter gave you nothing. Santialdama, the only bench player to make a basket in the second quarter. The Grizzlies bench was 1 for 8 in the second quarter. But again, the Grizzlies rode their starters. Luke Kennard had the most minutes off the bench with 22, almost 23. He was just 2 for 6 from 3, 2 for 7 overall. So outside of that buzzer beater, 1 for 5 from downtown. Beyond that, I thought Santialdama played well, but didn't play that much. He played 15 and a half minutes. Brandon Clark, like I said, only played 14 and a half minutes, was 3 out of 4. Although I thought Brandon, he made a big bucket in the fourth quarter when he was in to help hold off the Lakers. Conchar had a kind of rough game, did not score. His most memorable, notable play from this game was attempting to shoot a baby hook over Anthony Davis. Terrible idea. It wouldn't surprise me if Roddy maybe gets worked back in because that 10th man spot is up for grabs right now. It feels like they've gone with Conchar recently. The lineup data is always good when Conchar's in there. He finished +3 in his time, but he was 0 for 4. Scoreless, took an ill-advised jump shot over Anthony Davis, who finished with 5 block shots. And David Roddy has been playing well when he's got the opportunity. And then, of course, there's the huge draft capital invested in Zaire Williams. So maybe Zaire Williams or David Roddy will get the opportunity as that 10th man or 4th wing. Of course, when Steven Adams comes back, who knows what they do with how well Xavier Tillman has been playing. But not a ton from the bench. Tyus, by the way, finished with 7 points, 4 assists, 2 steals. I mean, in 13 minutes, that's good stuff. Good stuff from Tyus Jones. And Luke Kennard, even if he did, not shoot a great percentage, he made 2 threes. If Luke Kennard's not out there, I mean, maybe David Roddy makes a 3-pointer. He's been shooting it pretty well, but if Zaire Williams plays those minutes, the Grizzlies might have ended with 4 3-pointers. I mean, that's the power of the 3-point shot. So Luke Kennard hits a couple, helps the Grizzlies out there. Let's take a quick break right now, and then I'll return with a few more words about this game, and we'll look ahead to the Grizzlies' upcoming schedule. All Grizz all the time. Stay connected and follow @MemGrizz and @Grind City Media across all social channels, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for breaking news, one-of-a-kind content, and all the perspectives you won't find anywhere else. All right, a few more bits of information and a couple of news items to wrap up the show. The Grizzlies scored 121 points, which is good to see because they hadn't scored 120 points since the game against Minnesota. They had, earlier in the year, had an incredibly good offensive rating. They, during that 11-game win streak, which was, of course, the last time the Grizzlies won more than 2 games in a row. Hopefully they'll win 3 games in a row as they play the Rockets tonight on Wednesday night. The Rockets have lost 10 straight games. The Grizzlies are traveling on the second night of a back-to-back. These are the types of games that give me no joy. Only relief if we win. Just don't embarrassingly lose to the Houston Rockets. But the Grizzlies going for 3 straight. They haven't done 3 straight since they won 11 in a row. Back when they won 11 in a row, if you remember, they scored 115 or more in each one of those games. They were the first team in 40 seasons to pull off that feat. Back then, the Grizzlies' offensive rating was great. Well, now, the Grizzlies' offensive rating is not great. It is actually below average, literally below average. They are 17th in offensive rating, not just the half-court offensive rating, which, hovers around 22, 23 or so. For the season, the Grizzlies are 17th in offensive rating. Their effective field goal percentage is down to 24th. They're 26th in true shooting percentage. So none of that's very good. Is Steven Adams the key to everything? Possibly. Although you would hope you could survive a little bit better without Steven Adams. Another random stat that might affect the Grizzlies that I saw in the last couple of days. No team has ever won the NBA title that has a road record under 500. That affects the Grizzlies as their road record is a pretty terrible 11-18. They are almost certainly not going to have a road record over 500 this year. Now, past results does not guarantee future performance. Maybe you can break that trend. There's some other notable teams that have a road record under 500. The Cavaliers are under 500. The Warriors, of course, have the shocking road record of 7-23. The Suns are under 500 on the road. Of course, they just added Kevin Durant, so maybe that doesn't really count. So that's a random stat that might not mean anything, but I thought that stat might be a little bit notable. Going back to the win over the Lakers, a couple of lineup things I thought were interesting. I mean, we can do our checklist of things we look forward to. Did the death lineup play together? No, they did not. Did Santialdama get any minutes at the 3? No, he did not. Did Ja Morant, Luke Kennard, and Desmond Bane play together? I don't think they did. They've still played 6, but they played 6 possessions together this season. So that's just something I thought we would definitely see at some point. As far as the rotations in the fourth quarter, I thought they were pretty interesting. And for the non-Ja Morant minutes, of course, this has been a struggle for the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have had some really, really bad fourth quarters. And so you obviously highlight, hey, Ja plays the whole third quarter. He scores a bunch of points in this game in the third quarter. During the entire NBA season, Ja Morant scores a lot of points in third quarters because he plays the whole third quarter, and he's really, really good. But the fourth quarters, you highlight, well, what are these non-Ja minutes? And some of them have been pretty rough. I thought the non-Ja Morant lineups in the fourth quarter, I liked all of them. The Grizzlies started the fourth quarter with Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, John Conchar, Brandon Clark, and Jaren Jackson Jr. I love that 5-man lineup as far as a non-Ja Morant lineup. They maintained the lead. They honestly, I thought, played with a lot of great energy and were very crisp offensively. Unfortunately, the Lakers were just drilling some three-pointers. I believe this was where Lonnie Walker made a bunch of threes, some of his three-pointers here. So they didn't really extend the lead. Then Luke Kennard and Dillon Brooks subbed in for Desmond Bane. So you have Tyus, Luke Kennard, Dillon Brooks, Brandon, and Jaren. I love it. Of course, as a regular listener, anything with Dillon, Brandon, and Jaren, I'm in. Anything with Bane, Brandon, and Jaren, I'm in. Now we're adding in our new shooter, Luke Kennard, with Tyus Jones. It seems like, all right, yeah, these things should work. They didn't play that lineup very long. Then Ja Morant checked back in, and this was the only lineup of the fourth quarter that I thought was kind of odd. Ja came in with both Santi and Xavier Tillman to replace Tyus Jones, Brandon Clark, and Jaren Jackson Jr. I thought the swap of both big men was a little bit odd. I thought having Ja in there with all of Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, and Jaren Jackson Jr. on the bench in the fourth quarter isn't something I specifically would have done, I don't think. Maybe they're looking at the lineup data. They see how the Grizzlies have had some rough stretches when Brandon Clark plays alongside Xavier Tillman or alongside Santialdama, and because they wanted to get Jaren out of there to get a little rest, to stay out of foul trouble or hopefully not foul out, they're like, all right, we're not going to leave Brandon in alongside Tillman or Santi. So we'll just, we'll put both Tillman and Santi back in. Then maybe like a minute later, they put Bane and Jaren back in. So they finished the game with their regular starters plus Xavier Tillman. So they got the result. All's well that ends well. And my takeaway was just I liked the non-Ja Morant lineups they did. Will it alter again if like Roddy or Zaire Williams gets an opportunity against the Rockets on the second night of a back-to-back? We don't know the injury report for that game yet. Will some players sit out? Will someone find they have a soreness and not feel the need to play against the Rockets on a Wednesday night? So maybe some of the other bench guys will get an opportunity in this one. That Rockets game kicks off a 4-game road trip. After playing tonight in Houston, the Grizzlies will go to Denver on Friday for a rematch with the Nuggets. It'll be the third and final meeting of the teams this season. The winner gets the season tiebreaker. After playing at Denver, the team is off to Los Angeles, where on Sunday they face the Clippers, and then on Tuesday they will play the Lakers, and then you return home for the Warriors and Mavericks, then back on the road for Mavericks, Heat, Spurs, and then back home for Warriors, Mavericks. You're playing a lot of the same teams coming up here. Of course, we're in this gauntlet, this tough stretch of the schedule. The post-All-Star break kicks off with some hard games. Right now, the Grizzlies are 2-1 post-All-Star break. They won both home games, of course, lost the road game against Philadelphia, and they keep having to play some of these tougher Western Conference teams with the Rockets game sprinkled in and a Spurs game sprinkled in. But it'll continue to be a interesting test for the Grizzlies. And, of course, Steven Adams is supposed to return near the end of the road trip, although technically he hasn't been ruled out of tonight yet. Finally, last bit of news. Ja Morant is signing with Powerade. There's a little news story. He's going to be Powerade's first NBA athlete they've used in promotions in 5 seasons. So congrats to Ja Morant, adding another little advertising thing. And congrats to us, Grizzlies fans, as our players become more and more prominent. And we get to see our favorite guys even more places. Anyways, thanks for listening to these episodes. Please subscribe to the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. Write me a 5-star review in whatever podcast app you are listening to this in. Hope you have a great Wednesday. I will talk to you soon. Go Grizz.